morning, everyone, and welcome to Urban Update. I'm Byron Barnett. On the show this morning, a high school right here in Boston serving students from Dorchester, Mattapan, Roxbury, and Hyde Park, where 100% of its seniors have earned college admission for the last 12 years straight. Also on the show, Whittier Street Health Center's 13th annual Saving the Health of the Community International Gospel Concert is just around the corner. We'll have all the details. But up first, last week, FBI Director James Comey said that the face-off between protesters and the police after the death of Michael Brown produced a quote-unquote Ferguson effect, where tensions have grown deeply between citizens and the law enforcement across the nation. In Boston, protesters here began pushing for reform in the wake of Brown's death. One move included equipping Boston police with body cameras. Our guests today have been focusing on the police body cam movement in Boston. They are Segun Idowu, the co-founder of the Boston Police Camera Action Team, or BP-CAT, and Ashley Brown, chair of the Boston NAACP's Political Action Committee. Welcome to Urban Update. Thanks for coming in, both of you. Segun, let me start with you. How did you initiate? How did the initiative to equip Boston police with body cameras start?
So, as you made reference to, the death of Michael Brown caused a lot of frustration in our own community. A good friend of mine, Shakia Scott, that I went to high school with, we were sharing our, how we were upset at what happened in Ferguson. And at the last minute, we were saying we were going to go fly down to Ferguson and help out with what's happening there. And we decided that, no, it's really Boston that needs us here. Ferguson has all the resources it needs to get them through that particular tragedy. So we thought that it would be better to be proactive here in Boston rather than to move our efforts outside. So we formed this organization a few days after the death of Michael Brown, and it was great. We had a whole bunch of folks join the organization. We had lawyers, an astrophysicist, children's book writer, all the necessary components you needed to have a successful organization.
Okay. Now, also, you wrote the legislation, I understand, for the wording for the Boston City Council initiative, and the council held a hearing this summer. Talk to me about that a little bit.
So BPCAT and several other organizations wrote this legislation. So we worked with lawyers from the ACLU, but we also worked with the Harvard Black Law Student Association and members of a privacy group in Massachusetts known as Digital Fourth. We spent a number of months from our initiation until January crafting this proposed policy for the Boston Police Department after studying numerous policies around the country. And so this was what was proposed in January, and Boston City Councilor Charles Yancey received the policy and decided to take the initiative and introduce it as an ordinance.
Okay. Ashley Brown, talk to me about how the NAACP got involved in this issue.
Sure. Well, paramount to the work and the mission of the NAACP is to ensure the rights of all people. And so since actually 1978, nationally, we have been adopting resolutions that constantly are pushing to look at police misconduct and pushing for more police accountability. So when we were approached by Segun and the Boston Police Camera Action Team, it was a natural fit for us because this is sort of the bread and butter of what NAACP has always been known to do, is to seek to ensure more basic rights for people.
Okay. Now, Segun, about the legislation for the City Council, you wrote for the Boston City Council. What are some of the elements of what you're proposing?
So we studied, like I said, a number of the policies around the country and borrowed from some and left out some other parts. We also studied the Department of Justice's recommendations that they released in August regarding proper policy. And so some of the things we include are that there are only certain instances where the camera should be rolling. We do not feel that it's best practice to have camera rolling all the time. This was something that a number of officers that we talked to expressed frustration with and did not want cameras if they were rolling all the time, so we took that into consideration.
Probably when there's some sort of confrontation or issue
Yes.
that's
So our policy indicates that before you answer a call, much like your sirens go on before you get to a call, your camera goes on as well and covers from beginning to end. Other than that, it should not be rolling. We don't ask that it roll when an informant is talking to you, when you're having a casual conversation with your partner, things like that. We tried to address privacy issues and also have the policy match Massachusetts wiretap laws that say that you cannot film without the other party knowing. So they have to let the citizen know that they're recording. And I think one final thing that at least differentiates our policy from others around the country are that we have consequences in our policy. We dictate when an officer does not carry out their duties properly, that certain things should happen to that officer, as opposed to leaving it up to the department to decide.
Ashley, why do body cameras make sense from the perspective of the NAACP?
Well, we believe that body cameras can ultimately protect both officers and civilians. We've seen a number of incidents just this year where video footage and video surveillance has provided us another lens into the unfortunate incident where the officer was shot in the face, or the child that was on the bicycle riding down the street. And then sort of on the flip side, civilian camera footage has provided sort of another narrative of an interaction with civilians on the street. And so I think that in both sides we have seen the benefits, and we believe, and sort of research is showing that there have been significant drops in complaints and incidents regarding police officers.
Now, Segun, the Marty Walsh administration, I guess they've been sort of back and forth on this issue. Talk to me about your interactions with the police commissioner and the mayor on this issue.
So the mayor and the commissioner have disagreed with each other and disagreed with themselves on this issue. When President Obama announced in December of last year the $75 million to roll out over 3 years to fund pilot programs, training and studying it, the mayor initially came out against it and the commissioner was for it. And by the end of that Friday, they had completely reversed their positions. I would say in the last year, though, they've remained steadfast, being against body cameras. The commissioner himself said that body cameras should not, quote, come to Boston because we should not pay for the sins of other cities in the nation. And he repeated this at the August 5th hearing, and a month later, though, completely reversed his decision and said that a pilot program was coming.
What did the detractors say to you, the people who are opposed to body cameras? What reasons did they give?
So, one thing we've realized is that the voices against body cameras have grown, fewer and fewer as the days go by. But what the commissioner said, at least against body cameras, he brought up the fact that they would create an enormous cost, maintaining the data, and that it created privacy issues. And these are the 3 points he brought up, and so we're interested in discovering what answers he found to these questions he had for him to reverse his decision a month later.
Question for both of you. What do you think, what are the next steps you're going to take in keeping this debate alive?
Well, two things for us. We want to continue to talk about the numbers. The research that BPD and ACLU, the report that came out earlier this year, that's still concerning to us, that blacks and Latinos are still being stopped and frisked at higher rates in select neighborhoods. And so we still want to address the issue of the numbers. And also the study speaks to how an officer's race correlates with the number of frisks and interrogation reporting. And so we really are concerned about those numbers, and we also want those numbers to be connected to something, to some kind of an outcome, a policy, and we believe that the body camera program overall is one of the solutions. We also want to make this a community mandate, that we can't go another year, another election cycle without an issue as critical as this, without it being addressed. And so we want to make this a mandate going forward, that we will see this in the budget, that we will see a top priority being carried forward with a policy measure like this, because we can't keep sitting around and saying that we're going to talk about this, but we really want to move forward knowing that we have a supportive base behind us.
Segun, I guess, what kind of response have you been getting in the community, in the legislature, all around?
So when we first formed our organization, we didn't want to continue ahead and say we spoke for the community if we didn't actually talk to them. So Shakia was over the action team portion of our organization, and she and several of our members went to not just Mattapan and Roxbury and Dorchester, but Jamaica Plain, West Roxbury, Hyde Park, and interviewed hundreds of residents about how they felt about this issue. And it's from those brief interviews that we formed our policy, and it really addresses the concerns that were brought up during those conversations.
And just in our remaining moments, if you could just give me your sense of where this is going. Do you think ultimately that the body cameras on police are going to sort of become the norm, or where do you think public opinion and everything is going? I'll start with you.
Thank you. Well, we certainly see body cameras as an emerging technology. We certainly don't see it as the only solution, but sort of the start of many solutions. And I guess for the community, we see that this has been a reawakened opportunity. More folks are getting involved. Our membership is more engaged. We are actually going to be hosting a civil rights and criminal justice conference in February. So we are having these conversations. We are wanting to continue to talk about them, but really push forward a policy like this.
Okay, and she's going to give you the last word real quickly. Where do you think this is going?
Well, I mean, we did, body cameras are definitely coming. The commissioner said so himself, announced the pilot program, and we do believe that the city council will come around and heed their constituents and pass this policy.
Okay, so going to Idowu and Ashley Brown, thanks for coming in, and we'll see where the debate goes. All right, well, coming up next, an urban Catholic college prep school with students from Dorchester, Mattapan, and Roxbury, where 100% of its seniors have earned college admission for the last 12 years straight. All the details coming up right here on Urban Update.